This is problem number 39. This is in your book, back in section 5.5. We're going to look at this problem to try to determine how tall the flagpole is. So they've got a lot of information kind of drawn for you, which is very helpful. What we want to do is we need to figure out the pieces that we need. Well, first of all, if I'm going to use the law of sines and I'm going to be able to find the side length A, then I need to find angle A. And so that's pretty easy. They've already got the top, you've already got this top angle up top, and you've got the one down here. What we want to do is we want to be able to find out what this one is. Well, that's easy. Just add to 180, add them up and subtract them from 180. So 105 plus, that's a terrible plus sign, but 28. Add these together, and then you're going to basically subtract that from 180. So that equals 133. You're going to say 180 minus 133, and that's going to give us 47 degrees. And that's pretty much it, apart from using the law of sines. We're going to say sine of 47 divided by A, because they're across from each other. And then we're going to use, I can't use B because I don't have the side length B, so we're going to use angle C, which is sine of 28 over 16, because they did give us the actual distance from B to A, which allows me to do my work here. So when I work this out, we'll find out that it'll end up being sine of 47 all times 16 divided by sine of 28. And that turns out to be 238.5. Oops, not quite. Wrong problem. That turned out to be 24.9. That's better. And that's in feet. Which makes perfect sense. Something that you can look at and make sure that you're doing correctly. When you get your answer, make sure that the angles kind of match with the rest of them. If we're looking at 47 degrees, that's bigger than 28 degrees. So my side length should be bigger than the one for 28. Angles and sides go hand in hand. The shortest side will be across from the smallest angle. The largest side will be across from the largest angle. When you get done with a problem like this, especially if it says solve the triangle, you want to make sure that you've checked that just a real quick. It doesn't take any time to do it. It's just glance, make sure that there's no careless mistakes in your problem. That was number 39. Let's go on and look at a different one. This one is going to be number 44. This is, you have several of these for homework. I just picked a couple in between the ones that you have for homework to do. This is finding the height. You have basically, you have two people. Let's see. They're standing apart 400 feet apart. That's 400. And they're actually standing apart away from a tree. And one angle is 15 degrees of angle of elevation. The other's 20 degrees. The question is, how tall is this tree in the middle? We'll call that, let's call it H. This is kind of a pretty straightforward question. We can figure out the angle at the top by doing just what we did before. We'll add the other two together, subtract from 180, so we have 180 minus 15 plus 20, which gives me 145 as the angle at the top. Let's go ahead and label my sides. Let's call this A, B, C. And so if we were to write this up, remember the question is to find this. The tree is going to be perpendicular always. And so if I can find one of the sides, let's say little c or little a, if I could find one of these side lengths, then I can use just traditional sine, cosine, and tangent to work backwards and to find out the height. So let's go ahead and use the law of sines and find out. Let's go ahead and find side length C first. So we're going to say sine of 145, that's the big angle at the top, that's B, over the 400, which is the side length across from that, equals, I'm going to look for this particular side length. So I'm going to use sine of 20 because it's across from here, and we'll call that C. If you cross multiply, solve, you're going to get 400 times sine of 20 divided by sine of 145. And that gives us 238.5. Okay, so let's go in and let's remove this number. Let's put in my 238.5, 238.5. And now what I want you to kind of look at here is this triangle right here. This is now a perfect right triangle that we have an angle and a side and a missing side. So we're just going to use basic sine, cosine, and tangent to find out what this height is. So if we said the sine of 15 equals h over 238.5. This is just like what we've talked about in the past. This is actually much easier than a lot of these problems are. So multiply both sides by 238. 238.5 times sine of 15. That's going to be equal to h, which is 61.7 feet. And that is the height of that particular tree. Don't be afraid to look at a problem in 2 steps. A lot of the times you're going to find out problems are going to have 2 steps in them. I wanted to look at another problem. It's one of your homework assignments. It's number 41. So this is definitely on your homework. I could see where some people might get confused about what it's saying. So we'll just do this one. You have a truck, and it says a 4-foot airfoil is attached to the cab of a truck. It reduces the wind resistance. If the angle between the airfoil and the cab top is 18 degrees, and angle B is 10 degrees, find the length of the vertical brace positioned as shown in the figure. So I'm just going to draw that one part. So here, this is kind of what the picture looks like. The vertical brace is this part here, so we'll call that X. This part is the 10 degrees. That's really hard to draw that small. And the top part is 18 degrees. And so it's almost like a trick question. It's actually extremely easy. I'm going to somewhat ignore the fact that it's broken up into pieces, and I'm simply going to say that's a right triangle because the brace is vertical, and the B, the dotted line at the bottom, mine's not dotted, but the line at the bottom is horizontal, so we know that's 90 degrees. If we could say, let's say we want to know, well, this is 4 feet. We could say sine of 28, because we'd get the 8. If we added if we added 18 and 10, we're going to get the whole angle. And so if I have the option of using a right triangle versus a non-right triangle, I always want to use a right triangle because it's so much easier. It's going to be x over 4. So the answer is going to be 4 times the sine of 28 equals, and that turned out to be 1.9 feet. Which makes sense. If the top is 4, it's the hypotenuse, it must be the longest side. Then this side must be smaller than 4. And so, and 1.9 feet makes a lot of sense. Okay. The homework assignment that and you can check this on your calendar are the following problems. This is, I can't remember what page it's on. It's the same section we've been looking at. So I'm not going to put the page because I think the book I have is different. It's going to be numbers 37, which if you were paying attention, I've actually done that one for you in another video. So if you want to go back to the other video and watch that part, I've already done that one. 38, 40, 41, which I just did, and 43, which we did one very similar to that one earlier. So this is really just working with the law of sines and working in angles and stuff, working in triangles. Practice these, practice using the law of sines, and then tomorrow we will start the law of cosines, which is not much different.